that they would terrorize the public and say, we're going to have a depression, we have to have this bill this week to prop up these mortgages, and then now they say we're not spending it on the mortgages.
Yeah, well, see, to me, who is ultimately to blame for it? Your elected officials. Because if the elected officials passed a bill that allows this to happen, they are ultimately responsible for it.
Well, they were threatened with martial law on the House floor if they didn't pass it. Were you aware of that?
No, I was not aware with that.
See, I'm always shocking Ventura. I bet he doesn't believe me. John, pull, there's two congressmen. Pull the Brad Sherman clip first, and then I actually had Brad Sherman on the show. Play Brad Sherman for the governor. Do you have that? He's pulling it out of the computer. Yeah, Governor, you can't see. I can't believe this either, and so I don't blame you for having trouble believing it. They were threatened with physical martial law if they didn't pass it.
Well, you know, they had a chance to prepare for it because I saw that at the Republican convention in St. Paul because I got a first-hand visual of what truly martial law will look like.
What did you witness?
That's the way the city of St. Paul was set up for the Republican National Convention. It was a state of martial law.
What did you witness?
Oh, just the security. I mean, I couldn't even go into the city of St. Paul through my normal exit off the freeway. Those were all blocked off. I had to drive completely through the city to the south side, exit on a street there, double back, and then 6-8 blocks away from the event, you had to get out of your cars. You were met there with your identification and all that, the stuff you wore around your necks. Then you had to walk 3 blocks to the first checkpoint, and this was a place with these temporary metal fencing, not even fencing, they're almost like metal walls that they put up. And that went in a complete circle, unbroken all the way around.
Well, you know, they also charge peaceful demonstrators under the State Terrorism Act.
Well, and you could only walk on designated streets that they allowed for anyone that wanted to protest. And what they did is they designated them off the side streets so that it wouldn't be in the front of the building. So therefore, the news media didn't have to photograph any type of protest going on because they were all shuttered over to the side of the building on these other streets. And you watch the protesting; it's hilarious. It's like they're walking down streets that do a little U, but it's all encased with fence and barbed wire and razor wire. So, you know, here's your protest area. And what's interesting about that is, excuse me, but these are public streets paid for on the public domain by public dollars. And our First Amendment of the Constitution states that you have every right to civilly gather and protest anywhere in the public domain.
But again, they use 9/11 as the pretext to sell us this is all for your safety. The terrorists.
Exactly. Well, that overrides the First Amendment. Is that, well, public safety comes first, and the argument they give you back is on free speech. You're not allowed to go into a crowded movie theater and yell fire. That's not free speech, and that puts people in danger who will then panic. That's their standard argument, and they're using that. It's quite a jump to me, but they're using that as the argument as to why they can, because of safety, they can delegate where you can or can't go.
Yeah, well, the greater danger is this tyrannical government. Let me play the clip. This is the congressman. Here it is.
City from Ohio. The only way they can pass this bill is by creating and sustaining a panic atmosphere. That atmosphere is not justified. Many of us were told in private conversations that if we voted against this bill on Monday, that the sky would fall, the market would drop 2,000 or 3,000 points the first day, another couple thousand the second day, and a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no. That's what I call fear-mongering. Unjustified. Proven wrong. We've got a week, we've got 2 weeks to write a good bill. The only way to pass a bad bill, keep the panic pressure on.
All right.
Now,
and that was the day they passed it, and I interviewed him and another congressman. They were threatened with physical martial law. Then they get it, and 3.5 weeks later, they're hoarding all the money, giving it to no one but themselves, Governor.
Well, you know, Alex, I'm learning of this right now. I'm as dumbfounded and shocked as anybody who would hear that, you know. The only thing I wish they'd name the names. Who exactly are the people who were threatened with martial law, and who were the people who threatened them? That's what we got to get to.
Well, I had him on.
Not just the statements. Let's get to the gist of the thing.
All right, we'll tell you who said it when we get back. Here's the Minneapolis Post. I just Googled bankers bailout docs blacked out. Here are the headlines. Wired docs from the bailout being redacted. Another headline out of another newspaper. Bailout scandal. Undisclosed sums paid to New York Mellon Bank. Why is the government keeping key documents about the bailout secret? Alternet. How's this for bailout transparency? Boing, boing. Minnesota Post. Why are key details of documents from the bailout secret? And I just clicked on that article there. This should be a much bigger scandal and a much bigger deal. And to answer the governor's question, we had both the congressmen on, a Republican and Democrat, who were told about the martial law. And under House rules, they can be suspended. These were in committee meetings, and they were told this is being told in secret, and they're not allowed to say who said it. So, again, Governor Ventura, as you kept saying when you were down here for a couple of days with us, wherever you have secrecy is where you have the corruption. The cover-up of 9/11, the cover-up of Kennedy. I mean, that's the big evidence of the cover-up. And now with the banker bill, they're making it secret. But what leaks out is they're just gobbling the money up for themselves. Can you speak to that?
Well, again, I'm simply hearing what you're telling me, Alex, and to me this is, people should be going to jail over this if this is true. Because, again, all public money in the public domain should be out in the open, and whatever bills that are passed and what it's spent on, it should be clearly labeled with a complete paper trail so that anyone can audit it, anyone can go through it, and be able to, obtain and understand where the public money goes. And this is corruption beyond belief. And, if our people are voting for this, then clearly they need to be put out of office. And, again, I say you got to vote against all incumbents.
Well, it's the same issue with the congressman being threatened with martial law. The House rules, they were ordered to maintain secrecy. Again, it's that secrecy issue breeding tyranny. Can you get into the brick walls you've been running into with your True TV pilot?
Well, we're out trying to do a TV show, and basically what it's about is it's showing both sides of a conspiracy, and the problem we're running into is getting no cooperation from the government whatsoever in any way, shape, or form, and that's about all I can go into for now, except to state that when people act guilty, then they wonder why other people think they're guilty, and if you behave in a certain manner that leads to suspicion and not openness, well, then that's what breeds suspicion and conspiracy and things like that when you're not open. If people tell you there's no conspiracy, but then they behave otherwise, well, then how can you have any other way of thinking than that they're obviously not being truthful and are covering up for something?
And this hurts every American. The banker takeover, 9/11, all of it. We are all being basically screwed by this.
Well, we all certainly are when they take and do a bailout to these proportions, and then they're even saying that this may not even be big enough. And when there's no accountability of where the money goes, that's insane. It's utterly insane. You wouldn't operate that way in your own private household. So why on earth would we find it acceptable to operate that way as our government? I mean, unless you're a fool, you're not going to give huge sums of money to, say, Uncle Ben without him telling you what he's going to use it for and being totally transparent.
Why do you think, Governor Ventura, that they're so arrogant now? I mean, we've never seen corruption like this.
Well, why are they so blatant? Because they've been able to be blatant ever since 9/11. I mean, they were so blatant with not answering questions, not forming an investigative committee until 2 years later it was stonewalled. I've never figured that one out, having been the leader of a state. And, in fact, when the bridge fell in the water here in Minnesota, I don't know if they're getting an accurate report, but they actually commissioned 3 separate reports to happen so that all 3 could be compared to each other to determine, from 3 three different entities. What happened with the bridge? Have they received the final results? No, not yet. I don't know if they'll be honest or dishonest, but I can't understand how, as an elected official or the head of a state, the head of a country, or the head of anything, that when you have a disaster happen under your watch, why you wouldn't immediately have a full-scale investigation, because the most important part is to learn what happened so you could prevent it from ever happening again.
Instead, they actively covered it up and demoted or fired FBI agents that blew the whistle, but those that actively helped cover up got record cash bonuses and promotions.
Well, I don't know any of that.
Well, the head of NORAD, General Myers, was promoted to Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Well, there you go.
Stay there, Governor.
Hey, Alex, you know what they call that in Hollywood lingo?
What?
Out in Hollywood, that's called failing your way to the top.